there may be a mandatory vaccine created in order to prevent the coronavirus in the future. This is Truth in Media. I'm Ben Swan. On today's show, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the lead doctor who's been doing a lot of the press conferences regarding coronavirus, has indicated as much, that on its way, not only is the vaccine the only way to deal with coronavirus, but it will be ongoing and seasonal and very possibly required of every school child, really of every person in America, to keep the economy from having to shut down again. Here's the big question. Who is profiting from this if we follow the money? All of it today on Truth in Media. Well, Dr. Anthony Fauci, you have seen his face all over television. You've seen him in news conferences. He is the face of the response to the coronavirus outbreak. And that same Dr. Fauci is also the voice that keeps stating that there is no going back to the pre-coronavirus normal without a vaccine. That's what he keeps saying. Quote, when we get back to normal, we will go back to the point where we can function as a society. But if you want to get back to pre-coronavirus, that might not ever happen in the sense that the threat is there. But I believe that with the therapies that will be coming online and the fact that I feel confident that over a period of time we will get a good vaccine, that we will never have to go back to where we are right now. He continues, if back to normal means acting like there was never a coronavirus problem, I don't think that that's going to happen until we do have a situation where you can completely protect the population. Now, where can you completely protect the population? How would that even be possible at some point? Well, the way it would be possible would be if you create a vaccine. In reality, by the way, a vaccine will not protect all the people. One, not all vaccines are safe for all people at all times. So not all vaccines can be taken by all people. Therefore, you cannot ever say that vaccines will completely protect the entire public. Number two, vaccines many times won't work if a virus mutates, and there's no reason to believe that the coronavirus wouldn't at some point mutate, which would mean that additional vaccines would have to be created. But here's what you can count on, because in this culture that we're in right now, you can't criticize vaccines, and vaccine makers can't be sued. They are not just big business. They are guaranteed cash flow for pharmaceutical companies that create them and for people who back them, people like none other than Bill Gates. Because this is good news for Bill Gates, as the Washington Times points out, saying, quote, he has just announced that his foundation is going to spend billions of dollars to help build factories for 7 possible coronavirus vaccine makers. Spend, though, is probably the wrong word here. Invest is more like it. After all, Gates, first and foremost, is a businessman, a billionaire businessman who has made his billions in Microsoft and who just left his billion-dollar Microsoft enterprise to pursue other matters, specifically, quote, to serve humanity. So again, I want to remind you that even as we continue to sit under lockdown related to the coronavirus, and even though we're being told how deadly the coronavirus is, in the United States, it is still not even half as deadly as the flu this year, type A influenza this year. If you go back to 2017, do you know what the number of deaths was related to type A influenza? In the United States alone, 70,000. 70,000 people died from the flu. Right now, we're sitting at about 10,000 from coronavirus. And the other thing that continually happens is that every day we're actually seeing the projected death toll drop. Those predictions continue to fall when they are charted. According to the BBC, the lack of widespread systemic testing in most countries is the main source of discrepancies in death rates internationally. And even Bill Gates himself, the guy who's been the face of warning about this nightmare scenario of the coronavirus outbreak, has said that the predicted death toll may not be as high as, well, predicted. Because viruses are, after all, seasonal. Of course, that also means one other thing, that if they're seasonal, then every season we have to go through this. Unless, of course, someone creates a vaccine. Vaccines, of course, that are not free, that are highly lucrative for the companies that create them. And again, under U.S. law, those same companies are shielded from any lawsuit that may result from side effects from those vaccines. This is where the story gets really interesting, though, because there is something called the Global Vaccine Action Plan that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have put together. It states this, quote, "The World Health Organization, UNICEF, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have announced a collaboration to increase coordination across the international vaccine community and create a global vaccine action plan. The collaboration follows a January 2010 call by Bill and Melinda Gates for the next 10 years to be the decade of vaccines." Now, listen to that. This would be the decade of vaccines. We're now into 2020, and they're pushing for a new vaccine where they'll invest billions of dollars into 7 different possible coronavirus vaccine makers. But this is a structured campaign, and this is where the story again gets very interesting because it includes a leadership council. And on that leadership council is none other than Dr. Anthony Fauci, the same face of the coronavirus response team who keeps warning that the only way out of this is to create vaccines that will save us all. He's the same guy who set the stage for the dire need for this protective coronavirus vaccine and has a vested interest in seeing this vaccine come to fruition and be widely administered, not just in the United States, but globally, to be a globally mandated vaccine so that this never happens again. Again, Fauci's calling for it, but has a vested interest in making it happen. And so, again, here we are, talking about this continued shutdown, continued lockdowns for a virus that still has a lower death rate than just the common flu. And for those of you who say, wait a minute, that can't possibly be true on its own because if we weren't all being quarantined and we didn't have these shutdowns, the death toll would be much higher. There's no evidence of that, nor is there clear evidence on what the numbers actually are. How many people have actually even contracted the disease? How many have had it and didn't even know they had it? The idea that this disease is vastly more dangerous than other diseases has not yet been proven. And yet we continue to hold the economy hostage, and yet we continue to watch people go out of work. They don't have jobs. They can't collect money. They can't go out and build their businesses. They can't move forward in any real way. And the only answer to save us all is a vaccine. A for-profit vaccine. Guys, stay vigilant. We'll keep watching. I know you will too. We'll see you next time.